Nobody is buying a single word of Erika Kirk. Nobody. I'm a prosecutor by profession, former prosecutor, trial lawyer. When assessing a case that you're going to play before a jury and present before a jury, you ask yourself whether the parties have jury appeal. Do they come across nicely, politely? Or do you read them and say, no, this isn't good? Same goes for police or doctors or expert witnesses. Because a juror looks at this, not only listens to the testimony, but asks herself or himself, am I believing this? Does this make any sense to me? Does this person have, as we say, jury appeal? Is this the way a person acts when whatever? The way people react, their affect. Let me give you an example. During the OJ Simpson case, as it unfolded, when OJ Simpson was in Chicago, he got a call at his hotel from the LAPD saying, Mr. Simpson, we have bad news for you. Your ex-wife has been murdered. And he said, oh no. I'm going to fly back immediately, or how are my children, or something. And do you know what he didn't ask? You know what he didn't ask? He didn't ask which ex-wife. Now, you might think to yourself, well, that's not a big deal. Really? Really? You've been married to two women. They're both your ex-wife. You don't know which is which. You don't forget the first one. You see, these things matter. And when people are involved in a con, in a fraud, in a lie, they forget what they've said. They can never, ever plot out the trajectory, the arc of the story, no matter how good you are. I don't care if you're a psychopath or if you're a narcissist or you're just a pathological liar. Nobody can prevent from being caught up. That's why when you are involved in a crime, and nobody's suggesting that Erika Kirk is involved in a crime, not an intentional crime, not something, I don't know. As of now, later on, who knows, but not now. But the first thing to do is absent yourself. I would have, had I written this story myself, I would have said, you get her, and you get her out of the way. For two reasons. Number one, I'm a TPUSA jackal. I'm a vulture looking like Ben Shapiro, looking to scoop up all of those millions. I don't want her in the way. But also, I don't want her to screw things up, because I know, having met her, theoretically, that she comes across as a phony. This act. She's Tammy Faye Baker, meets a Stepford wife, meets some kind of, I don't know what. But this plastic, synthetic, fugazi, tissue-thin veneer trying to act. It's a LARP, many people suggest. I've thought, it's an interesting idea. A live-action role play. Acting not how you feel, but how you think you would react if you were in that situation. Because I'm trying to con you. I'm trying to convince you. I'm not feeling it. I want you to understand that what I'm saying is legitimate. And then, what happens? Candace Owens. That was the end of it. That was it. It just so happens that Erika walked into this buzzsaw named Candace Owens in this investigation. And Erika figures, I don't have to worry about it because I'm Erika Kirk. I'm smart. Everybody thinks I'm beautiful and gorgeous and Christian. And this, I can say things about I dated, I didn't date, I do that. Nobody's gonna touch me. I'm pristine. That's the wrong term. Virginal. You don't dare question my legitimacy. And you see, all of this didn't hit all at once. No. This didn't happen all at once. This wasn't. No. And see, that's the part that people miss, because This was not some overnight epiphany that people had. This was not, oh my God, it crept in slowly, fragment by fragment, pixel by pixel, clip by clip, coincidence by coincidence, moment by moment, until eventually the word coincidence stopped working. Remember, people say there's no such thing as a coincidence. And at the same point, at the same time, you stop saying, oh, that's weird. And you start asking, why the same kinds of weird? Why do they keep stacking up in the same direction? Now, you could look into this if you'd like, or you could do like other people do and start attacking Candace Owens. She's an Adderall addict who's psychotic. If anybody's not psychotic, it's Candace Owens. By the way, do you know what psychotic is? You ever dealt with psychotic? That's like the word cancer. You know, you don't throw that around. Psychotic is not what you think. It doesn't mean crazy, loopy, loony. No. Candace Owens is not psychotic. I mean, you might as well throw in the towel when you're... I mean, imagine the Oxford debating team. And what do you say? Sir, I submit to you that you're an Adderall-addicted psychotic. Why do you say that? Because I have nothing to say. I have no points to rebut. Now, many people for the longest time stayed quiet because they just didn't know what to do. They kind of caught up. They go, wow. But now it grabs you because you're thinking, oh my God, she is not crazy, but this is as crazy as it seems. People watched. People dedicating entire channels to Charlie Kirk and Erika Kirk and TPUSA and this circus. And they watched tribal warfare, hero worship, and emotional hysteria all dominate the conversation. And they didn't jump in because most of it was noise at first, but now it's different. Old footage is resurfacing. Names are reappearing. The facts are being distilled and digested better. And background details are lining up. And the patterns are emerging and unbelievable. And when patterns emerge, serious people stop pretending everything is random. People start to say, wait a minute. And it goes through this. If you're lying about this and this and this, when are you telling the truth? It's an old deposition trick, an old cross-examination. Madam, you said in this deposition that it was March the 5th when this happened, and now you say it's March the 8th. Were you lying then or are you lying now? Objection. Let's start again with this video. This Erika Kirk EMP video. She's discussing EMP attacks, grid collapse, infrastructure vulnerabilities, the kind of subject matter governments quietly plan and plan for and anticipate while the public kind of scrolls social media and argues about celebrity nonsense. She's not fumbling. She's not nervous. She's not casual. She's calm. She's professional and composed, speaking like someone who's been in maybe some serious rooms before, explaining risk categories and citing infrastructure sectors and talking about government inaction with confidence. Now, by the way, we know her mother, Ms. Franz, was involved in this, and perhaps, that's how the gig was involved. But people in the intelligence world don't let people come in to do some industrial read out of the blue. You don't do cattle calls for this one. You've got to have somebody who's going to be brought into this world, who's going to overhear and see things, even during the production of this film. So you got to get somebody that you understand, knows how to keep their mouth shut, and somebody who also understands kind of what's going on. This is serious stuff. There's no such thing as accidental. It's fascinating, isn't it? Who knew? Who knew Little Miss Beauty Pageant was about what? And for this very reason, anybody smart would say, Eric, I'm sorry, you're not going to be involved in this TPO because we've read your... This is spook. or Intel. And people are arguing about whether the setting looks like is it a CIA training environment? And what is it? And that debate rather misses the point completely. In fact, the larger point. Because the real question is not the room or the set. The real question is, who exactly is this person? Who? You know how they go back and here's George Clooney on this show. Here's Woody Harrelson for his first, it was a Pepsodent commercial or something like that. Here's Emmanuel Lewis, TV's Webster, in a CIA training film? See, because the fairy tale version people tell themselves and want to believe is that Erika Kirk was just some random girl who accidentally kind of wandered into one of the most powerful political operations in the country and just happened to marry the face of it. And that story doesn't hold up. See, when you look at her background, what you see is not randomness. There's anything but randomness. You see repeated exposure to spotlight environments, hosting segments, pageants, camera work, interviews, television appearances, and entertainment industry proximity in the limelight. Ready for your close-up, Mr. DeMille? You see an ease, a comfort in front of cameras. I mean, a professional, an actress. Comfort with public performances, owning the stage, and comfort being positioned and placed. And that doesn't make someone evil, no, but it absolutely means they didn't fall into visibility by accident. See, this is grooming. I don't want to use it in that particular term, but that's what this is. Grooming, preening, preparing, coaching, the bench. But this is grooming for public-facing roles, training for optics, and conditioning for attention and influence. And that is what it looks like. And people pretending otherwise are either naive or lying to themselves. And you know the truth. And you know what I'm saying is true. And then comes the pipeline. So you don't go from pageants and hosting gigs to standing next to one of the most powerful political influencers in America by accident. That isn't luck. It's not happenstance. It's not randomness. It's not fate. And it is certainly not destiny. That's networking and alignment and access. Charlie Kirk didn't just comment on politics. He built a machine. Candidate backing, narrative shaping, fundraising pipelines, and influence operations. You're telling me that someone with media polish and public speaking training and comfort around power just randomly ended up there? Come on. Remember what they said about Obama? Where'd he come from? He was like he was picked, almost groomed, almost selected, auditioned. You'll see it with AOC. Now, granted, not at this level. But they're constantly scouring. They're constantly scouring. The Republicans, if they're smart, should learn to do this a little bit better. If they don't, they just wait to see who shows up. Now let's talk about family background, okay? This is very interesting. Defense-adjacent work. That's the term. Defense-adjacent. Not defense, but kind of in proximity, propinquity. Infrastructure contracts. Government-facing projects. Homeland Security and Department of Defense partnerships. That world changes how people think. It normalizes security language and operational planning and classified frameworks and government process. See, when you grow up around that and that environment, government isn't some abstract monster. Oh, no. It's conference rooms and contracts and meetings and systems and money flows. See, that's why someone can casually discuss grid collapse and EMP threats without blinking. And sometimes she goes without blinking until she puts that mysterious little tissue to her eyes when the uniocular tearing begins. I'm not saying it's not real, my friends. You know that. But you do know that in the world of theater, whenever you want to initiate tearing and crying for somebody who is having a difficult time doing it, forget Stella Adler and Strasberg and method acting. Just let me put a little heater and blow some camphor menthol. You'll be tearing. Or if you're going to have a little tissue, let me dab some of this on. So when you want to start, you go like this. And the vapors all of a sudden will hit your eye. And woo, next thing you know. I'm just saying. I'm not saying. I mean, she wouldn't do that. Come on. Now, when Erika speaks these terms of EMP and adjacent, blah, 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 you know that language is familiar to her. Again, I'm not accusing anyone of espionage or being a spook, and I'm not claiming secret plots. I am pointing out that environment shapes behavior and perspective. And then there's geography. People think Arizona is golf courses and retirees, and wrong. Arizona is a quiet defense hub. Aerospace development, missile testing, electronic warfare, grid resilience research, how about that? And contractor clusters. You see, when serious work needs distance from Washington, keep that in mind. Attention and the like, when you need to focus on something DOD or CIA or DIA or whatever it is related, and you want to remove yourself from Washington but remain close to operations, keep proximity and propinquity, that's where it goes. Northern Virginia, Arizona, and parts of Washington state are not random locations. They are, to use this term which is overused, but I will say it, ecosystems. So when someone with defense-linked background relocates there, it's not mysterious. It's professional gravity pulling people toward opportunity. You know, I was raised in Tampa, Florida, see? And there's a place called MacDill Air Force Base. Now it's CENTCOM. And I remember all of a sudden there were people like, what are you doing here? And if they were in South Tampa, around these places, we knew who they were. Why? Because that's the base. That's the base. That's where they are. This is rocket science, rather. So then I want you to add this layer to this multi-layered mystery, if you will. Then add political proximity. Rapid rise alongside TPUSA. White House visits, media appearances, podcast circuits, event stages and elite circles, sparklers and lame, and circles that most ordinary plain old conservatives never touch or get near. Because, my friend, power is cultivated, visibility is managed, and access is distributed. See, that's the part people hate admitting. See, they want to believe movements are grassroots and organic, and leaders rise, out of nowhere. Hey, he worked her way up, and lo and behold, she happened to do this and rose her way to the top. Next thing you know, she owned the company. But in reality, pipelines exist. They want to recruit from known samples, known teams, trusted teams. Pipelines exist. Gatekeepers are real. Favor trading exists. This is inside, baby. This is as you talk about networking. And here's the best part: optics management, stagecraft, keeping the story straight. Stay in the approved lane, repeat the right talking points, avoid uncomfortable questions, and doors will open because you're trusted. You get invited, you get elevated, and you get amplified. Step outside that lane, and suddenly the doors close. Charlie steps outside the lane. Now, toward the end of Charlie's life, he was questioning more, pushing back on certain figures and criticizing establishment Republicans, going against the grain, heresy, heretical. And that kind of behavior makes people nervous. It makes people nervous because systems do not like internal disruption. Now add the optics after his death, okay? Constant appearances, public events, sports outings, podcast tours, while questions circulate about where are the children? Who's caring for them? What about his parents? Where is he buried? Can we see the actual? Can we talk about this? Oh no. And look at what priorities look like now. You can make excuses and you can say everyone grieves differently, and that's fine, and that is true. But grief doesn't explain everything. And at some point, patterns become fair game for discussion, which is what we're doing here. And if anybody says, would you please stop talking about this? Would you please stop? Would you please? Why is it so interesting? Are you kidding? Are you kidding? This is the most important story there is. And if you are in the least inclined to do, quote, true crime, this is it. Look at the social media interactions. Look at the interactions from people who lived inside political media circles. Listen to what people are saying who understand how these rooms and these power corridors work. Someone who knows what real power looks like. Does that prove anything? No, not really. What people are saying? No. And notice who's saying what. And notice again how they're attacking Candace in the most stupid. They're using hired hands, proxies, contract people to go out on media and just try to attack, calling her. It's almost like they're saying something so far-fetched, they're almost giving you a signal that I can't be serious. See, it all adds layers of interest. And another reason why people pause. And my friend, here is the real uncomfortable truth that people avoid. This is not really about Erika Kirk, I hate to tell you this. This is about how, again, power. How about power actually works in America. Because they will use her until she's of no use. And you know what happens when that occurs. See, people want fairy tales. They want happily ever after. They want organic heroes that come out of nowhere, work their way to the top. They want accidental fame stories. They love that. And next thing you know, remember the, who was it discovered at Schwab's or somebody who found themselves, hey, look at me, I'm famous. But the reality is much colder and far more strategic. You see, this is fascinating. Families circulate influence. Networks recycle faces. And media pipelines, remember, the media are collectively part of the intel circuit as well by creating the narratives, the populations, the people involved. See, they elevate favorite personalities. Political movements are curated. See, this is why the same surnames keep appearing, the same donors keep funding, and the same circles keep rotating. This isn't conspiracy talk. It's how elite systems, I'm not going to say ecosystems, but systems at work. And here's the kicker. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. You start noticing how often random success is attached to the same backgrounds, the same stories, the same background schmaltz, media training, political families. Again, these things called defense-adjacent careers. Nonprofit networks, donor systems. Oh, you start noticing who gets platformed and who gets buried. You start noticing who gets invited to the White House and who gets ignored. And you start noticing Who's protected by silence and who gets publicly destroyed? This is not left versus right. This is not Manichaean. This is not, apodictic and good versus evil. Both sides do it. Both sides protect their own. And both sides, or multiple sides, cultivate loyal figures. But the difference is most people are emotionally attached to their team and refuse to admit it. And see, that's why people get very angry. They get angry when this is discussed. Not because it's false. No, anything but that. It's because it threatens the discomforting, soothing illusion that movements are pure and leaders rise out organically. There's nothing nefarious going on here. No, don't tell me that. People would rather believe in fairy tales than confront how influence actually operates. They'd rather pretend that access is somehow random, that it just, it just happens. They'd rather that than accept that power and position is managed. Now, I'm not telling anyone what to believe, not me. I am telling you what I see. Remember this, the left, I keep telling you this, the left wants to keep you from saying certain things, and the right wants to keep you from thinking certain things. This wasn't random. This was not accidental. This doesn't feel coincidental anymore. If you disagree that this is fine, make your case. Be precise and bring facts, but stop hiding behind emotion and outrage and these cheap insults. Stop pretending that patterns do not exist just because they make you uncomfortable. And stop attacking Candace for anything other than what she is saying. Disprove her. Power is cultivated. Visibility is trained. And access is controlled. And this is not paranoia. This is reality. And if you want to understand modern politics, real politics, and media influence, and narrative control, you better get comfortable facing it. So stay sharp and stay skeptical and stay awake and focus on this. Don't be taken in by this. You're smarter than that. You're smarter than that. This is fascinating. And if you don't see it, you're missing one of the most incredible stories. I've never seen a story that went from, oh, poor Erika, to nobody believes her. Nobody, because there's so much information, because whoever was not minding the store didn't realize that her narrative was getting old and tired and tried. So my friends, I thank you. Weigh in with what you think. I love analyzing things. I love what's going on in the world. It's not left or right. Because technically speaking, is she right? I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. I want truth. And I thank you for that. Please watch what I'm doing. But weigh in your thoughts and comments. Tell me what makes sense or doesn't make sense. I've got questions for you that follows this. Please like the video. Likes are critical, my friends. Please like the video. That's our HOV ticket to wherever. That's what I call it. I don't know how you spell that, but also make sure you hit that little bell so you're notified of live streams and new videos. And subscribe. Almost lost myself. Subscribe. You know I'm right. Not in your heart like Barry Goldwater, but you know I'm right. Intellectually, cognitively, spiritually, actually, really, you know I'm right. So comment as you see fit.